Look, here is the. Let me just say this. I'm going to say this very seriously. There's a lot of nuance to the situation, right? So, if you can't understand nuance, then that's your problem, right? So I'm going to go in on a couple things here, but first, this is what I'm talking about, right? So check it out. Occupy Democrats is you could call it a left wing, but mostly a pro-democratic party, Facebook page, basically, right? And look at this post. The president hurt the water protectors, veterans, and Sioux tribe and did the right thing. It's a good day for America. Has a picture of Barack Obama with all the, native, little girls there. And it says, thank you, President Obama, for listening to the protesters and saving Standing Rock by blocking the Dakota Access Pipeline, right? So this is an example of something being true, but being overblown. So it is true that he did not grant the permit. He did, at the very least, delay this whole thing, right? At the very least, for now, they cannot build this pipeline. They can't do it. All right, so that's a good thing, and he deserves credit for that. But he's not above criticism, so my thing is, why did it take you so damn long? Why did it take you months to find? It's a fair question. He did not need Congress to stop this. You can't blame it on the Republicans. He didn't need to do any of that, right? He did not need Congress. He didn't need the Senate. And none of that. He could have stopped this a long time ago. There is a treaty in 1855 that was signed. This is their land, period. He's a president of the United States. One snap of his fingers. All the media is at the Rose Garden if he needs to talk about something. All right? Hey, there's something going on right now. I want everybody to know. Boom. And pages on Facebook like this would have been all over it. All over it. Why doesn't Obama come out and get aggressive on this? Well, why doesn't he do it? Well, number one, there's a reason a lot of Democrat senators and congressmen don't say anything about it either. They kind of hush hush because they're in bed with these same fucking oil companies. He was hoping this shit went on the hush hush, right? And you could tell this by the statement that Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco Logistics Partners, right? You could tell by the statement they put out. Before I read the statement, keep in mind, President Barack Obama is out of office in 7 weeks. All right? So there's a reason I'm criticizing this, right? Number one, before we even get to Standing Rock, President Obama and the Democrats did very little, at the least very little, if nothing at all, to stop a lot of these pipelines from happening. And they did even less of making the argument that we don't need these fucking pipelines. They allowed the Republicans, like always, to frame it, okay? And what did they do? They joined in. Because a lot of them are bought out by these same fucking companies too. That's the problem with a two-party system. That's a different story. Although it's part of this story. They're bought out. Right? No doubt about that. Can you explain to me why they couldn't just make the obvious argument that these pipelines, they're not in any way, shape, or form helping us, be energy independent. They're not. So that's number one. Number two, they leak into our water, right? Not that long ago in Pennsylvania, a pipeline leaked. these things leak. They could have had, I mean, right now we have a safe way, all right, of transporting in the U.S., okay, oil. And that's through, truckers. They have a safe way of doing that, and it's a job, and these pipelines are job killers. It's not, sometimes with technology, jobs get killed, I get that. But in this specific case, not only is it a job killer, it's not safe, and it's honestly, while it's using government land, people's land, right, and in this case, natives' lands, it benefits none of those people, just the oil companies. This is not just the natives. There was a woman that owned the farm. And without her permission, they built the pipeline. There was nothing she could do about it. They threatened to arrest her. Why doesn't Obama talk about this? Because he doesn't care. It's not. You don't think he knows? Of course he knows. Of course he knows this. He was hoping. I mean, it's just 7 weeks before he leaves. He was hoping this shit went under. It just kind of happened. Went under the radar, and didn't affect his image. But the protesters were making enough of a fuss with veterans going over and made enough of a fuss that he had to stand up and say something about it. So while he did the right thing, while what he did is more than, it's going to be a lot more difficult to convince a Donald Trump to not do this. I get that. We're better off with him than we are with Donald Trump, especially in this type of situation. He's not above criticism, and you have to wonder, what the fuck have you been doing? Just with the pipelines in general. Now, this pipeline in specific, put the pipeline aside. The fact that there was state police and sheriffs in federal Army Corps land, and in this specific case for Standing Rock, the land of the Sioux, per a 1855 treaty, you would think Obama had a hell of a case to make the majority of the country outraged with what's going on. With the human rights violations, just being displayed at a grotesque manner. This president stood around and was partying turkeys and giving medals to Michael Jordan and that DeGeneres chick, right? I mean, it's just giving medals away. He had time for that, and I get those type of ceremonial things are something a president has always done. And no, I'm not criticizing him when other presidents did it too. What I'm saying is, you can't do those type of things and then ignore this stuff, right? This was not something you should ignore. And I am convinced that people on the left that just flat out refuse to criticize this president, I am positive if this was Donald Trump or even George Bush or if it was Romney who was president right now, and this was going on, there would be such an outcry from the left, and rightfully so. But since it's Barack Obama, no, it's not him. It's the Republicans 100%. Are the Republicans bought out by these fucking oil companies? Yes, they are, and that's a fact, right? But so are Democrats, and to a certain degree, Barack Obama doesn't do enough, coincidentally, to stop these oil companies from doing what they have to do. And now, let's kind of go over the statement here. Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco Logistics. And just listen to the arrogance, by the way, of this statement. Announced at the administration statement today that it would not, at this time, issue an easement to the Dakota Access Pipeline is a purely political action, which the administration concedes when it states it has made a policy decision. Washington code for a political decision. This is nothing new from the administration, since over the last 4 months, the administration has demonstrated by its action. Oh, I lost the... my screen blacked out. Apologize. This is nothing new from this administration. Since over the last 4 months, the administration has demonstrated by its action and inaction that it hasn't intended to delay a decision in this matter until President Obama is out of office. The White House's directive today to the corps for further delay is just the latest in a series of overt and transparent political actions by this administration, which has abandoned the rule of law in favor of currying favor to narrow-minded and extreme political views. As stated all along, ETP and SXL are fully committed to ensuring that this vital project is brought to completion and fully expected to complete construction of the pipeline without any additional rerouting in and around Lake Oahe. Nothing this administration has done today changes that in any way. So right now, the arrogance of these oil companies, right? President Obama, for months, I told you there's going to be nuance to this. I'm going to get to these pieces of shit in a moment. But President Obama, okay, thought, okay, I'm not going to say anything, and if it gets done, it gets done. There's a lot of loud noise. Shit, I need to make a decision. And he made the right decision ultimately. He did it in a passive way, right? And again, he's allowing these companies to create the narrative. All right? Why isn't he out there just laying out the facts for people? Why doesn't he print out a lot of copies of the treaty, call a press conference, and just pass out this treaty to every member of the media? Force them to cover and talk about it. Why don't you do that? All right? Right now, since they know Trump, who has $2 million invested into these companies that created the Access Pipeline, right? And he has said flat out he's for the pipeline. Since they know that, they're like, fuck it, we'll wait 7 weeks when you're out of office and then we'll continue. Now, it's not as simple as that, right? But you see how no matter how lighthearted Obama tries to do it, no matter how, passive he tries to be, no matter what, these people are going to criticize you and accuse you of doing things anyway. He has allowed these pipelines to be created all over the country, and they keep talking about this administration, because they don't care about this administration anymore. A new administration who's more pro-oil is coming in now. So they don't give a fuck. So they're just going to say that this administration has been playing politics, right? They're letting fucking, protesters and unlawful people decide whether or not we could create this pipeline that's very vital. They claim that the pipeline is vital. Like, we need the pipeline. It's very necessary. And you don't hear a peep from Democrats saying, no, actually, that's not true. Right? That's not true. We don't need this fucking pipeline. This pipeline's for you. Most of that oil is going to be exported to outside countries. Fuck you. How about that? Not necessarily in that language, but you just don't hear it. Obama just, he just didn't grant the permit. That's it. That's all he did. Maybe he'll do a press conference. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But at least start the narrative. Is he setting a narrative and making a strong case for why we should not build this pipeline? No, he's not. All he did was just not grant the permit. As of right now, that's where we are. They're going to accuse you of playing politics and all this crap anyway. So how about you just play hardball? I mean, Jesus Christ, for once. Just for once. All right? But, as of right now, he hasn't done it. Now, maybe this statement will force, they're going to ask, the press secretary and they're going to give some generic answer or something like that, right? I really doubt Obama's going to go hard on this specific issue. I doubt he's going to go hard on it. I just doubt it. People do not know the facts of this whole story. They just don't, right? They just think a bunch of natives are being assholes and not letting them build this poor guys build this pipeline. I mean, they're talking about unlawful protesters. No, they're in their land. State police should not be in Army Corps land. They just shouldn't. That's breaking the law. Police officers protecting an object, like a pipeline, and attacking human beings when they should be protecting human beings, in essence, that's unlawful. So this idea that, Obama, he can't just send the National Guard. He couldn't have done that. I mean, he would have been criticized. Like, he's getting criticized right now. They basically said that Obama made a quote-unquote political decision, right? And he's picking rebels against law and order. That's basically what they're arguing. And there's people that eat this shit up because they're stupid. Right? So again, look, I appreciate the fact that he did the right thing ultimately, but unfortunately, it may have just been too late. He just acted too late. If he would have done something months ago, before this company even, they didn't know for a fact if Trump was going to be elected. So it may have forced him to reroute the whole thing, at the very least. But no, this company, I mean, they're talking about just drilling under our fucking water. Like if it's nothing, like if it doesn't matter. So what if it's your fucking water? This right here is going to escalate to epic proportions. And if this pipeline ultimately gets built, if Trump comes into power and makes sure that this gets done, which it's going to be a lot harder to reason with him, for sure. There's going to be some blame to place on Barack Obama for not doing something sooner. There's going to be some blame there. Ultimately, you're going to have to put most of the blame on Donald Trump and the bought-out politicians that are all for this fucking pipeline, right? But there's going to be some blame to be placed on Barack Obama. Because he could have done something about this way, way sooner. Okay? He could have done something about this a long time ago, and he didn't. And right now, they're not battling the narrative. They're not. But I have some hope, and here's my hope. Since progressives are not going to put their blinders on for Trump, a lot of conservatives are. All right? A lot of conservatives are putting their blinders on. Although there's some actually, like even like fucking that dumbass bitch Sarah Palin came out and just criticized, Trump and shit for that carrier deal, which is actually ironically right about, but a lot of conservatives are going to turn a blind eye to a lot of things Trump does, but progressives don't like Trump, which is a good thing because they're not going to put the blinders on and they're going to see what the fuck's going on. When police are hitting protesters with tear gas and, rubber bullets and stun grenades, and hopefully not anything worse than that. That's bad enough. Water cannons in freezing temperature. Blowing their fucking arms off and shit. I'm telling you right now, all right? If it's Trump in the presidency, there's going to be far more protesters showing up in North Dakota. There's going to be far more outcry online. You're going to have, I believe, thousands of protesters at the White House, at Trump Tower. It's going to be a big deal, all right? Which is a good thing. Because at the very least, they can coalesce. And if there's one thing Trump cares about is people liking him. And if he feels like, oh man, these people are not liking me, if he feels that way, then, Now, while I'm here, how about we look at some of these comments, by the way? I'm very curious about this. Thank you, President Obama. Much love. I miss you tons. Look at this comment. Perfect comment. Thank him. Where was he when they were being brutalized? Water cannons, rubber bullets, put in dog cages, tear gas. I don't know about the dog cages part, by the way, but either way, tear gas, dog attacks, attacking elders, grenades, although it was stun grenades, but nonetheless, Obama blew this one. He must help find justice for those who attacked and were wrongfully arrested. Check this. Look at this comment. Why don't you all wait for Trump? Oh, I forgot. He is heavily invested in the project. Obama could have came there personally, moved the pipeline himself, and the hypocritical racist asshole in this country would have bitched. I'm sure he can't wait to get out to see what the orange billionaire with gold toilet seats does for your asses. And this is a typical regressive right here, right? So he can't see the nuance in this. Thinks that we're comparing Obama to Trump as some type of equivalent, because that's the best they could put in their mind. And just doesn't see. Just because, let's say, for whatever you think Trump's worse. Okay, fine. It doesn't mean Obama's great. This guy's just literally saying, oh, no, if he moved it himself, the pipeline, they still wouldn't give it, like Superman or something, right? We wouldn't give him no credit. Let me tell you something, man. This president did nothing for months. That's the reality. Those are the facts, right? And that's that. Okay? But either way, he did more than all of you combined. The important thing is he got it stopped. Had he stopped it sooner, you'd still be complaining. Because of your hardened hearts, God is good, right? So obviously, if it started in August and it took them till October, would I be saying, hey, well, why did you take this long? Yes, I would have. Right? If it took a month, I would have said, man, what took you a whole fucking month? So yes, right now I'm saying, why the fuck did it take you 4 months to do something about this? Of course I am. Right? Outrage should have been out there from the beginning with this. Period. Right? This is the shit I'm talking about. We don't know what steps Obama was taking to block this. He could have been working on this shit for months. You already think Obama's a dictator, huh? Like he could pick up a phone and say, stop it. We don't know what kind of legal fights with investors and old company heads Obama has had for the last 7 months during this election season. Obama doesn't take to Twitter everything he takes a shit like Trump does. So we can't assume Obama was just twiddling his fingers in the situation for months and then decided to push the button. Give the president some fucking credit. This guy, I mean, everything is, you don't know, you weren't there, you don't know what he was doing. All right? I like this comment here. Obama literally said, let it play out several more weeks. No, if he wanted to find ways of rerouting the pipeline, he should have and could have stopped it immediately. But he let the peaceful protesters continue to be violently attacked for protecting their land. I'm glad it's over now, but I'm still pissed at him for letting it go as long as he did. And he did. He let it go too long. All right? He was just looking for stuff. Obama for months has been looking for an argument to stop the pipeline. He's not a dictator. President Barack Obama did not did not need Congress to stop the pipeline. Okay? He didn't grant the final permit. Listen to the word final. That means it suggested that there was other permits. The idea that he can't just pick up the phone and say, stop it. You know, ironically, yes, he can. Right? Just like he could just push a button and there goes the nuclear codes. With the nuclear codes and launch something. Right? Just the president could do a lot of things. In fact, he wouldn't have to pick up the phone himself. He could have told Biden to pick up the phone. He could have told his, press secretary to pick up the phone. He could have told anybody to pick up the fucking phone. He's the president. And this is Army Corps land. Land that actually belongs to the Sioux tribe. Per an 1855 treaty. He knows. He's a smart guy. He knows this. He knows this. He could have sent, nobody's saying, oh man, he could have just sent the National Guard. Actually, yeah, he could have. He could have sent the National Guard and just said, hey, they're just there to make sure that protesters are not abused. That's all. I'm going to send the National Guard and make sure media has access and police are blocking access to the media. They were blocking access to the media. They were blocking off roads and shit. In Army Corps land, he could have sent the Army Corps to make sure that doesn't happen. He could have done a lot of things. He could have put a narrative out there. He could have done a lot of things. All right? So, nobody's saying give him no credit. I'm saying there's credit, but there's nuance to this, and he deserves some criticism. Period. I'm out.